take ownership of the nation's anti-corruption war, President Buhari tells Nigerians.
President Buhari visits Maiduguri, celebrates 57th independence anniversary with troops of Operation Lafia Dole.
Christians across denominations join in the independence celebration, sue for peace and harmonious coexistence.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on Nigeria at 57 as we use the platform of President Buhari's anniversary speech to discuss the way forward for the country.
The 1st of October every year remains a remarkable day in the history of our dear nation, Nigeria, since 1960, of course, because it is the day the country attained independence from colonial rule.
Yes, Blessing, Nigeria, like many other African countries, was a colony of Britain until it gained its independence as a sovereign state on October 1st, 1960. This day is set aside yearly to celebrate the independence of Nigeria and to look back and reflect on how far she has come and how much has been achieved.
Well, for some Nigerians who have looked critically at the present situation of the country, so much to ask if there's really any cause for celebration. And for President Muhammadu Buhari, even though the country has over the years gone through trials and tribulation, October 1st is always a day of celebration, and it's a day for Thanksgiving, a day for reflection, and a day for rededication.
Now, the president, in a nationwide broadcast to mark the independence anniversary, said it is also a day for remembrance of journey from 1999 to 2015, when the country returned to democratic rule. The past 2 years, the president noted, Nigeria has recorded appreciable gains in political freedom.
Now, President Buhari maintained that recent calls on restructuring, though proper, should be done in a legitimate debate, and that has left some highly irresponsible groups to call for dismemberment of the country, and this is one that government cannot, I will not allow such advocacy.
Such advocacy, the Blessing, you'll agree with Mr. President, which is assuming an alarming dimension, is presently threatening the corporate existence of the country. You will also agree that these challenges did not just start.
Now, for all these years of her existence as a nation, Nigeria has grappled with several challenges, and also there is this mutual suspicion, mistrust, and also ethnic jingoism, as people have tagged it. This has deprived the people of great reason, sense of justice, and that of fairness. Somebody once said that Nigeria laugh and hug in public and plot against one another when they retire to their ethno-religious enclaves.
You are right, because once in a while, this mistrust finds a grotesque expression in wanton killings and bloodbaths premeditated by ethno-religious contempt for each other, agitations for secession, restructuring, and reconsidering the basis of the country's existence as a nation has never been so strident.
Now, what is more worrisome is that these agitations are sometimes couched in discriminatory actions, and also create hate and hurtful utterances, discordant tunes, voices, and protests, which are actually threatening the peace and unity of the nation. Now, this is worrisome, really. Yeah,
exactly. And there is therefore no gainsaying that our nation is today more than ever before in a desperate search for unity and peaceful coexistence in a united Nigeria.
Now, the question to ask would be, what is the trouble with Nigeria? At 57, whereas the unity and also the stability which we badly need and which we crave for from time to time, why have such eluded the country? And to what extent is leadership a major problem in Nigeria? For those who believe it's part of leadership, and for some, if you recall, Kiran, some of the series we did in the second week in August, talking about national unity and stability, so many of our guests talked about so many areas of interest, from issue of the leadership, for those who believe the elite are actually at the core of this problem, for those who believe the young persons have not really taken up time to actually take their place, as well as some other areas. Now, these are some of the areas that we'll go
exactly what you have just painted, and some other questions we shall try to provide answers to, especially when we now have guests on this special Independence edition of Good Morning Nigeria. Today, coming to you live from the network service of the NTA, the largest television network in Africa. My name is Kirian Umaya. Happy Independence, Nigeria.
My name is Blessing Abu. I join Karen to welcome you to this program, this edition for the new month in a brand new studio. Yes. We're glad to reach you live, as you said, on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. And also in the course of the program, alongside our discussion on this special edition, we'll bring to you our complimentary segments, the newspaper review, the business, sports, foreign, as well as entertainment news. Let's kick off with the news. And Jibono is our guide. I know she's not an October baby, but it's not out of place to still wish her happy Independence Day.
Same to you, Blessing. Good morning. And Kieran, good morning. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed formal appreciation of his administration to the nation's armed forces for the sacrifices made so far in decisively containing the Boko Haram insurgency and effectively securing the country for efficient management in line with the change agenda. Addressing the troops in Maiduguri during a surprise visit to the theater of operations, the president was emphatic that under his watch there will never lack anything in terms of welfare and operational requirements in safeguarding national unity and integrity.
I've forgotten how much you mean to this country. I assure you that under this leadership, there will be resources available as much as the country can afford it to support your operations. I will make sure that your rights as loyal Nigerians will be guarded jealously. Otherwise, the center will not hold. And this center is determined to hold.
And Mr. President is asking Nigerians to take ownership of the nation's anti-corruption war by working assiduously towards combating every menace at every turn. This, he said, will not only ensure accountability at all levels, but accelerate progress in making the Change Nigeria project a reality. In a broadcast to mark Nigeria's independence anniversary, the president hits hard on groups calling for dismemberment of the country.
But fighting corruption is a bottom-to-top operation. I call on all Nigerians to combat corruption at every turn by not asking for and refusing to accept a bribe, by reporting unethical practices, or by blowing a whistle. Together we can beat corruption. Change will then be real.
President Buhari hit hard on groups calling for the dismemberment of the country in his speech. On the other hand, Senate President Bukola Saraki has also congratulated Nigerians on the 57th independence anniversary of the country. In a statement signed by his special advisor on media and publicity, Yusuf Olaniyonu, Saraki also urged Nigerians, irrespective of creed and ethnicity, to continue to work for peace, unity and stability of the country. The Senate President called on political, traditional, religious and business leaders to close ranks in order to initiate and implement ideas and strategies that will further develop the country and increase the living standards of the people. Similarly, Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara has expressed the need for Nigerians to strengthen the bonds of unity and cohesion as a people of common interest and destiny in the process of nation building. Speaker Dogara noted that Nigeria would only attain greatness in an atmosphere of peace, unity and stability. He enjoined Nigerians to shun every harbinger of hate, division and violence. Dogara observed that at a time like this, Nigerians must adopt the right strategies and utilize the advantages of their diversity and benefit, as well as blend their differences for positive outcomes in the process of building the Nigeria of their dream. And from Abuja comes a report that the need for Nigerians to sustain the code of unity and respect for the rule of law re-echoed at the 57th Independence Day celebration in Ogun State. The state governor, Ibikunle Amosun, led government functionaries at this year's ceremony in Abuja.
We must collectively look into the issues that affect us as a people in order to provide lasting solutions and strengthen our peaceful cohabitation as a nation, and also offer prayers and remain more dedicated to the wholesome development of our nation, so that the labor of our heroes past shall not be in vain.
Also, children drawn from more than 40 schools in the FCT converged on the Eagle Square, Abuja, to celebrate the nation's 57th independence anniversary.
This is clear manifestation of the kind of unity we have in this country, and it's something that we shouldn't play with. Security is something we shouldn't play with.
We'll do only those things that will promote the peace, unity and prosperity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I believe that things will get better.
And I wish for Nigeria to be great.
Well, that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Blessing and Kirian after the break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
London, New York or Lagos, business or holiday, home or office. You can now carry out your tax transactions from anywhere in the world. You can now file all your tax returns, pay online, get a receipt and even process your tax clearance certificate from anywhere in the world online and in real time. All you need to do is log on to www.firs.gov.ng and click on e-services and be introduced to the world of innovation, convenience and transparency from the FIRS. You can also pay stamp duty as you register a new company with the CAC or for other transactions that require stamp duty payment online. You can also file your withholding tax returns and determine the withholding tax deducted from you is in government coffers so that you can get your receipt within 45 days as long as the deduction has been remitted. Yes, all of this and more online at www.firs.gov.ng/e-services. FIRS, making tax administration as easy as ABC. Please note that all FIRS services are free of charge. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service. It pays to pay your tax.
We are quick to blame other people, the government, even animals and nature.
Government cannot be responsible for everything. Some of our problems is our own making.
Do you condemn other people for the vices you are guilty of? Do you have genuine papers for your daily dealings?
I have never seen a more useless, dysfunctional, impracticable driver's license. It's not even a passport-size photograph. It's a full size of a human being showing.
The list is endless. This episode is titled What about you? Join us this week on your rib-cracking comedy, Professor Jumbo, and find out what bothers Godons as you laugh like never before.
I supposed to get a award for coping with this kind of living thing.
It's not even a living thing. It's a non-living thing. Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
What makes a nation truly unstoppable? It's being able to push in the face of odds, rise above limitations, and realize that everyone's effort counts when it comes to nation building. What makes us unstoppable? It's when we work together as a team without letting our differences hold us back. There's no stopping the Nigerian dream. Reach for your peak, Nigeria. Happy Independence Day.
Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Sir Ahmadu Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo.
These patriots worked together to achieve independence for one united Nigeria. Although some may say Nigeria is a mistake, we all know that the Almighty never makes mistakes.
God has not made a mistake by bringing us all together in the way that He has brought us together. God has put us together here so that we can build a community that will be an example to the entire world.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
And if you just tuned in, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now, time for business, and Amina Nujem is our guide.
Good morning and happy Independence Holiday. As Nigeria celebrates her 57th independence, President Muhammadu Buhari says the federal government remains proactive in its economic diversification policy. The federal government's Agricultural Anchor Borrowers Program, which the president launched in November 2015, has recorded great successes among other initiatives. The president, in his independence broadcast, stressed that the country must first be secured with the nation's economy in view, listing job creation for all unemployed youths with the aid of CBN's Development Finance Initiative, as well as solving the challenge of power as some of the steps taken to make life better for Nigerians. Payment of outstanding salaries, pensions, and small businesses suppliers that had crippled the economy over the years is being addressed. This, he says, will in the long run help rebalance the economy away from the traditional dependence on oil. Nigeria has recorded 7 consecutive months of lower inflation. Naira rate is beginning to stabilize, appreciating from 525 to $1 in February this year to about 360 this weekend. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, has told operators to give 14 days grace for subscribers to exhaust their remaining data after the 30-day expiry period. Executive Vice Chairman, Nigerian Communications Commission, Umar Ambata, stated that if customer complaints are not solved by their network providers, they can turn to the regulator, which will take up the matter and resolve it. Ambata was speaking at a consumer forum and said the NCC had mandated all network providers to give their subscribers 14 days of grace after the 30-day expiry of their data if they still had some left and cannot recharge to get it rolled over. Meanwhile, the NCC has declared 2017 as the year of the telecom consumer. And that is business news for this Independence Day. Good Morning Nigeria continues, and happy holidays.
Thank you very much, Amina Najim. Up next is a newspaper review.
And our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebi, is here in our news studio. Bayo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kiria. Good morning. Have a blessed and independent anniversary celebration.
We should say Bayo.
Blessing, good morning. You are looking very Nigerian. Good morning,
I
Nigeria.
decided to join you in this race.
Too. I'm the odd man out, you know.
No, let's go. You're sandwiched between us, so good enough.
All right.
You're covered.
All right, let's start off with the authority. The authority has just above the nameplate, police kill most wanted armed robber in Imo. The details of page 4. And for page 4 this morning, the other stories we'll look into as well. Obaze tackles Obiano's reckless spending. More details on page 4. Dead or alive, Nnamdi Kanu is Biafra hero. This is coming from Masop. And also, don't drag us into politics. Anglican Church tells Anambra candidates. More details on page 4 as well. Leading for the authority this morning, Nigeria at 57. We must move on. Governors, others. There's a rider to that story. Nigeria must remain united, says Jonathan. Military will lose the most if Nigeria breaks up. This is coming from President Muhammadu Buhari as he attends military parade in Maiduguri. More details on page 4. Quickly now to the blueprint still on the military and president. Military will be everywhere to protect Nigerians. Celebrates with troops in the front line. More details on page 6. That's the lead story for the blueprint. And of course, we have the photograph of the president with the military personnel there. Boko Haram displaced 1 million children. 3 million need emergency education. This is a story credited to UNICEF. More details on page 15. So other stories, I'll let Clear come in at this point.
Yes, let's take just New Telegraph before Bayer comes in. And above the nameplate on New Telegraph, a stock market posts 2.97 trillion naira gain in 9 months. The rise banking sector emerges best stock with 894 billion naira gain. That's on page 6 of the New Telegraph. Now, below the nameplate, we have some stories there. Governors sue for peace, unity at independence celebration. On page 35, you could see Governor Ganduje there. All right. Now, quick notice, security operatives take over Kaduna. That's on page 7 of Telegraph. And then federal government, we paid 1.64 trillion naira to states, local governments for salaries and pensions on page 6 of New Telegraph. Then the main headline, Buhari says, military will be biggest losers of Nigeria's breakup, as Blessing read in other newspapers there. It says those agitating for secession are noisemakers. Now, below the photograph, reprieve for prisoners as governors pardon 178 persons. With a rider, Wike, that's the governor of Rivers State, commutes 32 death sentences to life imprisonment. That's from page 6. Okay, bye.
Yes. Well, our nation is 57, and in the life of any human being, 57 years is a job about a generation. But for a nation, it still have a long way to go. We have just begun, and the world has not seen anything yet about Nigeria. Meanwhile, on that occasion, leaders took the specific time to make pronouncement, and all of them were united in calling for unity. President Muhammadu Buhari, at the independent anniversary, made a national broadcast, and in his national broadcast, he was categorical, and he said the country will not break up under his watch. And he said, irresponsible youth call for dismemberment of the nation, and leaders fail to tell a hot-head youths the consequences of their folly. And he made a declaration. He said, genuine grievances will be addressed. He paid tribute to the armed forces, particularly for putting down their lives to secure the nation. He also specifically celebrated the independent anniversary in Maiduguri. There, he cut the anniversary cake, and he addressed the soldiers. He said, on a passionate ground, he said, I assure you that in spite of my health challenges, in the last 6 months, I have never forgotten how much you mean to the country. And he challenged members of the armed forces to do their best to uphold the unity and defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And he said, I expect in return for your loyalty the bottom-up loyalty from private to the general and all the service chiefs. This center is determined to hold, and therefore the nation must hold. There was goodwill messages from leaders of the National Assembly, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the governors of the states of the Federation.
All right, that's good. I have leadership newspaper here. Blessing, let me just take some of the stories that we have here. Of course, they seem to be, you know, telling same stories. But here below the nameplate, below the photography on the leadership, we have FMBN positions towards affordable housing for all, says the managing director. And then kidnapped ACP, others regain freedom, page 4. All right, to boost troops' morale, President Muhammad Buhari moves Independence Day celebrations to Borno with 2 riders there, directs military to stand firm for Nigeria's unity, as a bio also read out there, described the secession agitators as dreamers, and then PDP calls for unity and progress. Okay, we also have the story of the amount of money released to states and local governments in 2 years. That's 1.6 trillion naira. Now, to boost morale, the president moves to Maiduguri. Of what significance is that move, do you think?
Well, it's very significant. These are men of the armed forces who are putting their life on line to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And therefore, when he went there, for any soldier, for you to see your commander-in-chief, it is on a quantifiable morale. And therefore, even some of those who were injured when he visited them, they said, yes, immediately they are recovered, they are going back to make sure that they perform their duty to the nation. So it is a great morale booster for the soldiers, and also particularly the people in Borno State who have suffered the pangs of the crisis, or since 2009. Also, the vice president was also at the National Christian Center, where there was interdenomination worship. And he said Nigeria is in the bond of peace and love. Therefore, it is set for national unity and on the path of prosperity again. He was not there alone. He was joined also by former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, and he was joined on the podium by General Olusegun Obasanjo and Ernest Shoneka. And he made a declaration. Gowon said, Nigeria's unity had already been fought for. Do not fear. The unity will continue with your prayers. And the 2 other leaders said, we concur. So everybody is united that this nation has a lot to gain in all of us being united than being separated apart. Exactly. And our greatest asset is our human resources.
Sure, Bayo.
Which are yet to be properly harnessed,
yes,
which is the main question.
Okay, some other stories on the front page of the blueprints. Let's quickly look at the stories. IGP, that is the Inspector General Police, immortalizes slain sergeants in Zenith Bank robbery. More details on page 31. And abducted Assistant Police Commissioner freed. You find more details on page 39. And some worrisome story now. Nigeria risk water crisis in 2020. This is coming from experts. Why they say so, you'll find out more details on page 15. APC woos Sheriff-led PDP faction. More details on page 20. And former Vice President Atiku to state, stop depending on federal government handouts. More details on page 41. IPOP controversy over Kanu's whereabouts. You'll find more details on page 6. Bayo?
Yes. This controversy you're talking about is the former Abia State Governor, Dr. Orji Uzor Kalu, has said that Nnamdi Kanu is in London. Said he was not arrested by anybody. He left the country on his own. The former Abia State Governor says one of Kanu's relations told him so. And he said Kanu was not taken away by the military. Kanu went to Malaysia, from where he traveled to the United Kingdom. Nnamdi Kanu is in London right now as I speak. He was not arrested by anybody. However, counsel to Nnamdi Kanu, Ejiofor, has said, who has filed a habeas corpus to compel the Chief of Army Staff to produce Nnamdi Kanu, says his client, he still stands by his claim that his client was last seen when the army came to his Afarauku residence. The army has severally declared that the leader of the proscribed terrorist group, is not with them. However, counsel to Kanu says Kalu, that is all use of Kalu, should be in court to also provide information about the whereabouts of Nnamdi Kanu.
All right.
Don't forget that October 17th, there is a case for which he will have to come.
Yes. All right, Bayo, thank you very much. At this point, we need to thank you very immensely for your analysis this morning. It will be good to see you again tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Enjoy your independence celebration.
Yes, this is the Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA Network Service. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll move into the nitty-gritty of our show this morning.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Marketing in broadcasting requires some degree of specialized knowledge and skills, and it is a recognition of this that NTA Television College JAS is organizing an intensive 4-week course on modern trends in broadcasting media marketing. The course is going to be a knowledge-sharing class with emphasis on how best to meet the expectations of customers while remaining profitable. All participants will be exposed to emerging trends in broadcasting media marketing, aimed at equipping participants with new and robust skills in challenges of modern competition in the broadcast media marketing in Nigeria. Date 9th October to 4th November 2017. Venue NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos. Fee 100,000 naira per participant. Accommodation inclusive. For more enquiries, contact us on 0806 980 9807, 0703 660 7155, or email us at ntacollege@gmail.com. NTA Television College, training you to be the best you can be.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again. That is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too, huh? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Another edition of TV Guide magazine is out with revealing accounts of trending stories. With the dwindling oil revenue, he says there is no reason to worry.
We strongly believe that culture is Nigerians' new oil, and we're going to show that by creating wealth, our art and culture will be a statement for all of us.
Our cover story is on Otumba Olusegun Munchewe, Director General, National Council for Arts and Culture. For upcoming TV presenters, elegant Elizabeth Banu tells you what it takes. A peep into the activities of the Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative, a mandate being fulfilled. A trip to the Yankari Games Reserve at Safari in Bauchi State brings you closer to nature. And the Oshun Oshogbo Festival, our culture, our pride. Professor Adiku, the Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, tells us what it means to manage a university, plus our regular features, star profile, media issues, relationships, young minds, entertainment, sports, and lots more. Pick your copy now at the vendors or at every NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, still your indispensable companion.
If you just tuned in, the program is Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the network service of the NTA. It's a special edition for the 57th Independence Anniversary of Nigeria. Now, let's join Oyeyemi Ajayi for this background report to set the tone for our first part of conversation.
At times like this, when past leaders of the country come together with a song like this, the message tends to resonate something important, which is unity. The independence of Nigeria on the 1st October 1960 symbolizes the readiness of Nigerians to live indivisibly and in harmony in order to have a better future. Definitely, the country like Nigeria, which boasts of about 250 ethnic groups, has a whole lot of potentials and natural resources to make her self-sufficient. Since 1999 to date, Nigeria has succeeded in transiting from one democratic dispensation to another, even from one political party to the other. Over the years, Nigeria has been the toast from many countries in the quest of doing business and enhancing relations due to her huge potentials. The country has had its fair share of security challenges, economic dislocations, and social upheaval. In spite of these, the country has remained united. This unity, the president in his independence broadcast says the country will never give away.
Recent calls on restructure, quite proper and a legitimate debate, has let in highly irresponsible groups to call for dismemberment of the country. We cannot and we will not allow such advocacy.
As the country marks 57 years of independence, how far so far, and how can the nation move forward from where it is to where it ought to be?
Pray to God to continue to grant us that peace and unity that this country dearly deserves.
God created Nigeria as we are, and God doesn't make a mistake. We should thank God for that.
We must continue to work hard to make sure that we achieve the desired results.
All right, and we're now being joined in the studio by the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Mohammed. So you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigeria.
It's a very special edition of the program. And we also have the privilege of hosting Senate leader, Senator Ahmed Lawan. You're also welcome. You're well adorned in the Nigerian flag. Blessing.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Blessing.
Yes, we are also joined on this discussion this morning by the person of the National President Vanguard for Transparent Leadership and Democracy and Anti-Corruption and Governance NGO. I would like to welcome Comrade Odafe Emmanuel Igbe. Comrade Igbe, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
And in our Lagos Network Center, we'd like to welcome Honorable Shoni Bare. He is a former chairman Conference of Legislative Leaders and also into other policy analysis from time to time. Honorable Shoni Bare, I would like to welcome you to the program.
Good morning, Nigerians, and happy independence.
Okay, let's start off from here, definitely.
Yes, let's start with the Honorable Minister. So let's do an overview, of the President's speech yesterday. The President broadcast to the nation. What would you make of his, speech, address to Nigerians yesterday?
I think the takeaway from Mr. President's, address yesterday is that he emphasized the issue of national unity. He emphasized the fact that without security, there can be no development, there cannot be anything. But more importantly, I think Mr. President gave a scorecard of his administration in the last 28 months. And not a few were surprised or shocked to hear how much has been achieved in the last 28 months. I'm sure the discussion since yesterday has been around the fact that the federal government had given out to states over 1.6 trillion naira in bailout. And I wish to say this. This is in addition to whatever the states, had collected from the consolidated revenue. And this has shown that the federal government, this administration in particular, has been very caring and has been very concerned and worried about the well-being of the average Nigerian. I think overall, Mr. President's speech yesterday gave a new hope, a new lease of life to Nigerians, one that we are going to remain united, and two, that this administration will do everything to ensure that the quality of life of Nigerians, continue to improve.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Well, let's take the views from Senator Ahmed Lawan. Each October 1st, different Nigerian leaders have had cause to address the nation. How soothing was October 1st, 2017 speech to Nigerians at this time?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians, and happy anniversary of our independence. I think it is our custom now, right from 1st October 1960, that Saturday that the then Prime Minister, Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, made his famous speech. The 1st October of every year has become a day on which our leaders, especially at the national and state levels, address us and seek for more understanding and, of course, unity and so on. I think let me also concentrate a little bit on what the President said and, of course, look at what the other leaders said in Nigeria yesterday. The President was emphatic that the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. And, of course, we know that what we need in Nigeria is leadership that is transparent, a leadership that is characterized by integrity and accountability. This President is giving us that. What we do is to capitalize on these traits of our President and the government that is trying to make everything work for us. From the analysis, we could see that already the diversification policy of this administration is giving us the desired outcomes, especially in the agriculture sector, is giving people work to do, is creating wealth for our citizens, and we should continue to support the government on this. I listened to one line that the President said, some irresponsible people took over the agitation for restructuring and so on and so forth. You see, when you have administrations that are occasioned by political activism, by voting, by democratic means, it's always an investment in what we believe in. We had a political party in the past that ruled Nigeria for 16 years, even though the idea was to rule for 60, but 16 years. I was in opposition for all the 16 years. My state was in opposition as well. Apart from the ministerial nominee, which the Constitution says we must have, I can't remember if we had any other appointee from my state. Yet, we didn't complain because we didn't believe in what they believe in. Now, if we want to create issues for debates, for discussions, let's create them around what we need to do to develop the infrastructural needs of Nigeria across all the country, parts of the country. What do we need to do to bring in people in a very inclusive manner? Any political party in any government would like to see that it does the right thing, even to the opposition, so that it gets people out of opposition to its own side. And therefore, I found it a little bit funny when people who don't believe in what this party and government believes in will say they have been marginalized. There was a time in this country when we had most of the appointments coming from one particular geopolitical zone. And let me be specific, and this is going to be blunt and true. There was a time when we had, from the SGF, Minister of Finance, almost all the financial, public financial institutions were headed by people from one section of the country. And even the Chief of Army Staff at that point. Nobody complained. And I think we should not be complaining on this kind of thing, provided the political party thinks this is the way to go. I believe that the president was right, that there are people with genuine complaints who are asking for their issues to be considered. Maybe they feel slightly marginalized, they are off the line, and so on. These are the kind of people that we need to find out and bring them on board. But I believe that we don't have to, we don't have to really give into blackmail.
Yeah, so blackmail. All right. Let's say, you know, in continuation for the issue he raised, he's now becoming specific now. And let me now move to the Honorable Minister, because the President rightly pointed out in his address to the nation that there could be legitimate debate on restructuring. But then, like as Senator also pointed out, that you know, because of the situation, some irresponsible groups, now took advantage of the situation to begin to ask for dismemberment of the nation. Honorable Minister, in your opinion, what is the present administration thinking with respect to restructuring, which is being, parts of the country, people are agitating for it?
Well, I think the issue of restructuring is many-sided. We'll start first with the ground norm, which is Constitution of this country. If you want to make any constitutional amendment, the place to do so is National Assembly. And there are provisions for amending the Constitution, and that is where we should begin. We've amended this Constitution several times. Now, so if anybody today wants to talk about restructuring, then we must start from the National Assembly. Two, what exactly do we mean by restructuring? I think restructuring means different things to different people. And this is why the attempt that is going on now to collate the various, and agree the various ideas of Nigerians as to what restructuring means is the most, appropriate thing to do. To some, restructuring means going back to the former 3 or 4 regions. To some, it means creation of additional states, as was, proposed in the 2014 confab. To some, it means resource control. To some, it means devolution of power, more devolution of power to states. To some, it's even about state police. So what is happening today is very healthy. Let us collate and aggregate, what Nigerians mean by a restructuring. And of course, we still need to go back to National Assembly if we want to effect any change in the Constitution.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Yes, for definition of what restructuring should mean and should be is one area we would like to pursue even further in the course of the discussion. Now let's return to other guests that were introduced earlier in the program. Let's find out the view of Comrade Emmanuel Odafe. Now, for us as a nation, at 57 years of independence, it's as if we lack the semblance of ownership, whether from the north, south, east, and west, what Nigeria as a country should be. Now, your own view of what the President's speech hold for you, and why is it harder to actually build a united and stable Nigeria now than it was at independence?
Well, thank you very much. I carefully listened to the Honorable Minister and the Senate Majority Leader. First of all, let me say that we have cause to celebrate if for nothing, for the continued peace, love, and unity we enjoy. This country is so great, blessed, and the land is so green. From our experience, the problem has to do with few of us who are privileged to be elites, holding the resources of this country in trust on behalf of 200 million Nigerians. This whole discussion about certain ethnic group having been appointed and there's a turn off on that group, I don't think is correct. It is all about this privileged select few of us who will continue to manipulate the system, manipulate 200 million Nigerians to gain undue advantage. The story has been the same since 1960 to date. I listened to the majority leader carefully. I probably think that he's referring to the immediate past regime. Incidentally, I come from the South, precisely Warri. And I grew up in Kaduna. I had my primary education in Army Children's School, Kakuri. And my best friend there was Muhammad Ali, a Muslim. In fact, at the stage, I joyfully learned how to write the Arabic language. So the elites of this country should please stop creating problems. As at yesterday in Warri, most of our security men, the one we call Megad, they are Northerners. They guide our streets, they guide our churches. So who are these people fighting against the other? It's just the elite thing. Don't forget, we are now approaching under 2019. So all this talk about restructuring, for us, is nothing but elites trying to reposition themselves to gain advantage. And that is why we key into and agree with Mr. President when he made that position. And what we also saw from what Mr. President, his broadcast yesterday, that really gave us more hope, is the fact that he made it clear that this country, our unity, will never be negotiated. Never. This is one of the best countries in the world. So those who are hiding under the cover of certain ethnic agitations, be it Biafra, Niger Delta, all of them, we know that they do not really care. I say with all sense of responsibility, that they do not really care about the 200 masses of the 200 million Nigerians who are suffering. From the far north down to the south, there is hunger. Secondly, our president mentioned the issue of corruption. For us, corruption is the #1 enemy of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 2, gradually, a critical word has disappeared from the spirit of Nigerians, and that is patriotism. It is totally lacking. And that is why you see some certain persons who are privileged to be in certain positions would not mind looting in billions of naira. So the issue of corruption is very, very dear to us, and we want Nigeria to key into it. But the strategy adopted so far in fighting the war on corruption since 1960 to date has failed woefully. Every government, both elected and military interventions, they have actually fought corruption, and corruption fought back and won.
Well, all right, all right. Thank you very much. I'm not sure the nation will allow corruption to win. And at this point, gentlemen, let's go to Lagos now, where Honorable Shonibare Odolade, former chairman, Conference of Legislative Leaders, is staying. Honorable, let's paint a scenario. Now, this call for restructuring is coming from different parts of the country. And the reason may not be far-fetched, because we're being in a nation, as the NGO man pointed out, corruption, looting of our wealth. Governments are not trusted. Individuals who man positions of authority have never been trusted because, of course, massive looting has never experienced elsewhere in Africa. In this connection, restructuring has refused to go. Now, if you are in charge, or if you are in a position to advise the current administration that is here now that this issue of restructuring is coming, how would the government handle this best way of handling this restructuring issue?
Well, if I'm in a position to advise government, the issue of corruption is, the issue of restructuring is based on two key areas in the country. The first one is power sharing, and the second one is resource allocation. When you look at the agitations and the fundamental reasons why people agitate, is based on two key areas of resource allocation and power sharing. Now, if I'm to advise government, I will advise the government to look into the issue of North and South, because Nigeria has become highly ethnic and religious conscious. And for us to address most of these issues, I think we should begin to look at the zoning of political offices. We should look at resource allocation, equitable distribution of our resources. And these are the areas I'm going to look at. And this is in line with, as being the predominant reasons why people agitate. I mean, everything is summarized to resource allocation and power sharing.
Lagos, we also want to have a feel of what you think about the president's speech yesterday. I know as a young person, you got into political office early, and for some young persons, it will have been it's a mixed feeling of reactions. Okay, what was it the president read in his address? How did it touch the mind of the average young person, if you would like to share with us?
Well, looking at the president's speech, I looked at the president placed security as very key, because where there is no security, there cannot be investment, there cannot be progress. And security was very key in the president's speech. Another area that interests me in the president's speech is the diversification of the economy, because you see that when the president came in, he realized that a lot of structures had not been put in place in the economy. There was total impunity in the running of the Nigerian economy. So what the president did is to return the economy back to factory setting. Definitely there will be some little challenges here and there when you take such decisions, but at least he has been able to stabilize the economy now. And especially the agricultural revolution that is taking place right now. That is very key. That will create a lot of employment for young people. And then we encourage a lot of young people to go into agriculture. There's a lot of scheme, loan facilities that are in place for people to go into agriculture. That is very important in the diversification process of our economy. So those are the areas. I also looked at the area of security again. When the president, the commitment of the president to the return of the Chibok girls, that is very key to me. You understand? And then those are areas that are very important. But again, I also think that for us to achieve the desired greatness that we require, there is need for the country to transit from recycling the old generation politicians. Over time from 1960 to date, their thinking has not changed. We need to inject new ideas into our politics. It's very important. The younger ones must begin to take charge. I think that power is not served a la carte. We must encourage our younger generation to come. If you look at the major achievements of this country from 1960 to date, they were achieved when most of these political elites were in their 30s and their 40s. If you look at what is happening today, it's the same set of people that are still recycling themselves. So it has not given us to inject new ideas into the Nigerian political space. So right now, I think that more young people must begin to come up and participate in governance, because they must be involved in policy making and implementation. If they are not involved, then I think it is this same old idea that will be recycling. And that's what we need to start looking at right now towards approaching 2019.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shani Barolode from Lagos there. Gentlemen, when we return from this short break, we'll also be looking at a corruption issue, which Comrade Emmanuel pointed out is quite key, to, in fact, it's the bane of the nation's development. So this is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation.
You hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter. That might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words. Run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
It's about that time. States across the country coming together for one purpose, one goal. They are young, they are solution providers. The NTA ETV Children's Expo 2017, holding at the NTA Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja, with the theme Renewable Energy, Industrialization, Arts and Agriculture as tools to bring Nigeria out of economic recession, with sub-themes post-harvest processing and preservation, and using arts and crafts to promote tourism. Date 22nd to 27th October 2017. This expo is open to ages 6 to 12 years for junior category and 13 to 18 years for the senior category. It's about the Art, Science and Technology Expo. For sponsorship consideration, please call the following numbers.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. If you just tuned in, well, we just started the conversation, taking a look at the president's speech, and now we dovetail into what Nigeria needs at 57 years of its independence. Well, Nigerians have already started reacting, and we'll quickly run through some of the tweets that we have received at this point, and we'll move on with the conversation. Our guest is seated. From Cecilia Okoroma is this tweet. God has made Nigeria a great country. God is our help in the ages past and ages to come.
Mike Anyako says, Nigeria has come a long way. The unity of the nation is sacrosanct. No section of the country should be shortchanged for any reason.
Festus Akimboyewa has this tweet. Nigeria at 57, the civil war, all the military governments, corrupt politicians, corrupt captains of industries, and poor leadership, all have made Nigeria a paralyzed and disoriented country. Nevertheless, Nigeria has not failed, and Nigeria shall be great.
Nathaniel Shock, good morning and a happy independent Nigeria.
Well, this Twitter handle is Ugtech Computer. Say, happy Independence Day to my great nation, Nigeria. Please let my president, Muhammad Buhari, to make sure he stand by his word and make Nigeria great.
Razak Adiola Shitu says, the dead bone shall rise again.
Sani Michael Omokaji as the street Nigeria at 57 calls for sober reflection occasioned by massive corruption. We have witnessed, however, Nigeria can get it right.
Cecilia Okoroma, I sincerely celebrate the military, police, government, leaders, individuals, and institutions who genuinely made efforts to ensure peace. And that's
we celebrate them as well.
Exactly. And
okay, yes, Kiran, back to us. Now, Honorable Minister, we've listened to every one of you talk loftily about what the president feels at 57 we should be doing, and that we should begin to discard. Now, people have wondered the twin issue of unity and stability. We crave for it so much. We talk about it openly, but secretly to appear that it is not what is being done. Now, what is the trouble in getting these twin issues of unity and stability on the front burner for us to work as a nation?
Well, I don't quite understand what you said, but it is not working. Now, what is unity? What is stability? Now, from the viewpoint of this government, in the last 28 months, this government has worked assiduously, one, to secure the nation, 2, to ensure that the economy is revived. Thirdly, to fight corruption and ensure openness and transparency. And in everything this government has done, those 3 objectives have always been in focus. Now, national unity. What is going to engender national unity is a sense of fairness, a sense of equity, and a sense of justice. And people come out and make very wide allegations as to imbalance, wide allegations as to injustice. But when you ask them to come and give you facts and figures, they are short in those facts and figures. Now, I think when you go back to the president's speech of yesterday, what is clear, the president has told us and told the nation that this government has remained focused in its fight against corruption, it's remained focused in reviving the economy, it's remained focused in securing this country. Now, we entered, the issue of recession is neither here nor there, but the most important thing is that this government, after 5 months of consecutive negative growth, came out of recession. And the most important thing about coming out of this recession is that this is a recession, this is a recovery that was led by the non-oil sector, which means that the government's emphasis on non-oil sector in diversifying the economy is working. Again, if you look at what this government inherited and where we are today, it will be clear that this government has remained focused and its solutions are working. Even the problematic, area of power, we must look at it in the context that when we came in May 2015, only 2,690 megawatts of power was generated in this country. Today, we generate over 7,000 megawatts. Now, if you look at the economy when we came in, it was over-dependence on oil. And today, the recovery was led by agriculture, construction, mining, creative industry, and manufacturing. So, which means again, our emphasis on, spend out of, recession has worked. It's never happened in the history of this country that a government will spend 1.2 trillion naira in 1 year on capital expenditure. But we've all seen, the effect, because we spend so much, we spend so much money on infrastructure. We're able to come out of recession that fast. And you see, please judge us in the context of what we inherited and where we are today. Now let's give this example. In 2015, the past administration spent only 18 billion naira on roads. In 2016-2017 cycle, this government spent 260 billion naira on roads and bridges. In 2015, the last administration spent only 5 billion naira on power. This administration has spent over 90 billion naira on power. Or housing, 2015, the records are there. Past administration spent 1.8 billion on housing. We spent 70 billion naira on housing. And what the effect is that roads that were abandoned, contractors that had not been paid for several years were paid, staff that were laid off were recalled. We created directly over 17,000 jobs just on roads, about 52,000 indirect jobs. Now, so we are giving a report, a scorecard that shows positive, improvement on every sector, including inflation. Since January this year, we've had consecutively inflation coming down. We've spoke about agriculture. We've seen not just that, agriculture-led recovery, but specific areas in agriculture, such as the fertilizer, initiative of Mr. President, which has led to the revival of 12 blending plants all over the country, creating 50,000 jobs, extra, saving us $150 million, in foreign exchange, and 60 billion naira in budget, expenditure. We've seen areas such as the oil and gas sector, that with the engagement of the federal government with leadership in the Niger Delta area, we have seen peace return to Niger Delta. We've seen an increase in production. Now, so there is absolutely no area of governance that we cannot give a positive report. But when we talk about unity, we talk about stability. Now, what is important is that in the distribution of infrastructural development, every geopolitical zone must be covered. And this is exactly what is happening today. There is no part of Nigeria today where the roads are not being constructed, where railways lines are not being put. And when you look at even sharing of appointment, the problem with us is that we always take the part to be the whole. And until we are given a comprehensive picture of appointments across board, we cannot sit down and say, oh, one side is favored, another is favored. And very soon the government will come out with a very comprehensive, record of who is where and from where.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, sir. That's a resume of what the government has been able to do in the past 2 years or thereabouts. And at this point, let's return to also the issue of unity and stability of this country, which many blame on bad leadership. And from what Comrade Emmanuel said at the beginning of his explanation, I'm moving to the senator, the Senate leader here with us, because when we talk about leadership or stability and unity, it revolves around leadership. And for the first time, if I may say this, since we returned to democratic rule in 1999, that we now have a leader who people are really afraid of with respect to their, the test for stealing. This is the one president that, of course, has zero tolerance for any form of corruption. So in that connection, the Senate leader, why is Nigeria still having the issue of that national unity that will be transparent among all the ethnic groups in the country to stop all these agitations and what have you? What can be done? And we've been, in power for a while, in authority position for a while in your lifetime, and you have a lot of experiences to share with us this morning on leadership.
Thank you very much. Let me borrow the explanation given by my friend, the minister, that unity is based on equity, fairness, and justice. No Nigerian leader ever said that he wanted to disunite Nigeria. Every Nigerian leader would say he would like to get a Nigeria that is united, that is facing the same direction. For us, I recall very well that in the year 2000, we passed the NDDC bill. I was then a member of the House of Representatives. Why we did that was because we felt the Niger Delta needed some kind of support, genuine support, to ensure that we ameliorate the kind of situation the Niger Delta was in. And then in 2002, we passed again in the National Assembly the bill to establish the abolition of the onshore-offshore dichotomy. Those were fundamental because the desire in the National Assembly was to give more resources to the Niger Delta states for them to ensure that the people there, where the oil, the crude comes from, do not suffer, or we at least minimize their suffering. That was in the spirit of making everybody feels he is part of this country and there is fairness and justice. Subsequent leaders came up with some other mechanisms like the amnesty program, the creation of the Niger Delta Ministry for Niger Delta Affairs, and so on and so forth. Presently, as soon as this administration came in, the president signed the cleaning up of the Ogoni land. And so much efforts have been done to ensure that the government and Niger Delta people are on the same page. And the president reiterated his commitment to ensuring that there is justice in the Niger Delta and, in fact, every part of the country where there is need for this. I think our motto of unity and faith, peace and progress, which is supposed to shape our conduct, is being adhered to by this administration. What we need to do is for us citizens, to, especially those in leadership positions, to also think patriotic enough. Where we need to advise government, we could say, this is what the government needs to do. But where there is no need to cry foul, we shouldn't, because it simply creates tension across the land and the country. And in the process, some of our citizens are misled. I believe that in the National Assembly, we are doing everything possible to ensure that we give government all the support it requires to bring people together. And the government itself, the executive side of government, the administration, on its own, has its own design and policies to ensure that there is sufficient unity among citizens. And I think that the state governors are also supposed to do similar things, because within states too.
Honorable Distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan will appreciate what the present administration is doing to touch different areas, even as submitted by the Honorable Minister. Equal distribution of these resources, of this wealth around, will actually bring to pass to quell some of this area of agitation. Now, this current wave of agitation didn't just start today. It's been there over time. Could this be a suppression of what the people have had over the time? And what other factors do you think is responsible for bringing it up each time there's a fresh administration?
I think it depends on who is talking, because I think some sections of the country can talk more than others. At the beginning, I said I was in opposition for 16 years as a member of the National Assembly, as a member of APP, AMPP, and now APC, which is in government. And my state, and so many states, were in opposition. And because we believe that we had our own views on how to run government, we didn't care much what the administration at the federal national level was doing. Even though we may not get what we needed, but we kept quiet, talking only from time to time to the authorities. You recall that in the Northeast particularly, for 4 or 5 years, when the Boko Haram started, in fact from 2009, most of our projects were suspended by the federal government. No new projects were introduced, and we could not get the money back. Those monies that should have ordinarily been used to reconstruct and rehabilitate our roads and other infrastructure, we didn't get anything. But the heavens didn't fall. What we did was to campaign to our people that, hey, we should vote for someone else because we are not getting what we think we should get. And we voted. And we got something big. What we got? Security. We were left almost on our own. Boko Haram took over majority of our states in the Northeast. And yet, the federal government at the center at that time was doing little or nothing. But when we voted for APC and President Muhammadu Buhari became the president, the first thing he did was to ensure that the command of the armed forces was moved to the Northeast. He visited the neighboring countries, our neighbors, to ensure that there was a very tight program on how to deal with Boko Haram. Today we are celebrating our security in the Northeast. So it is for citizens, especially leaders, to make their points that we feel we are not getting these things, but put it in a way.
So people can ventilate their anger
Yes,
or agitation
this is democracy.
as long as it's on the right
stop
path.
anybody from talking.
All right, thank you very much.
You have an opportunity. If you are not getting what you need or what you think you deserve, wait for 4 years, and then you can vote against whatever you think is not in your
Okay, Comrade Ibn, people have agitated over time and we said this is right, at least from what Senator just pointed out. Once it is legitimate, which is part of the president's speech as well. Now, these are issues suppressed over time. Now, what other factors do you think create that sense of domination, marginalization, and also deprivation that Nigerians have to voice out from time to time? And how do we address that?
You see, I will keep repeating myself. The issue about Nigeria is all about power grabbing by the privileged elite class. Nothing more. Anyhow they try to present it, the issue remains the same. And we must tell ourselves the plain truth, the moral truth, if we need to move this country forward. Now, the discussion for October 1st shouldn't be about political parties, but about this country, the fundamental issues. You asked a question concerning the unity and stability. I want to maintain that there's no problem with the unity and stability of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So what's the problem?
The 200 million masses of this country are united in one dream and one hope. Our problem and our obstacle remains an unpatriotic, select few elites, nothing more. Now, I listened to the Honorable Minister talk about road. Incidentally, I'm an engineer, and I headed a multi-billion-naira road agency in Delta State not too long ago. I do not know the roads he's talking about. I came from Warri to Abuja by road. And if he does not mind, maybe we'll take a trip through the same road to Warri. And I think the story is the same all over the country. From Benin to Okene is hell. So let us tell ourselves the plain truth. There is serious problem with infrastructure across the country. The roads are not there. In fact, if they are there, they are death traps. Now we're talking about economic recovery. I don't know who we are asking. Ask the man on the street if he understands this out of recession or inside recession. The fact of the matter is that there's hunger and there's starvation. People are living life of desperate silence. When you walk out of this studio, before you go some few kilometers, you will see hungry mass all over the place. And then that creates increased rate of insecurity, whether we like it or not. I want to commend Mr. President because he is a man I respect. He is sincere. He is not a politician. Even though he is an elected president, but he's actually not a politician. That is why sometimes when he's blunt with the truth, people see it as very controversial. We must tell him the truth, and we must accept the truth if we move forward in this country. Now, we talk about oil and gas. Incidentally, I was an employee of one of the multinational companies in the 80s and a labor union leader in that sector. Let me say again and again, we don't even know the quantity of crude oil we produce and export. I have said it before and it cost me my job, and I'm going to say it again. When you hear 2.5 million barrels per day, those are just figures that people throw all over the place. But the fact is that in Mr. President's broadcast yesterday, we want to appreciate him. When I say we from the oil-producing states of the South, because the word Niger Delta has been politicized. Now, any oil-producing state is a Niger Delta state, which is unfortunate. He appreciated the fact that despite the imbalance, the injustice, I'm talking about economic injustice, he said he appreciates the peace that we'll continue to maintain. But we want to tell Mr. President that it is unfair, not only this regime, the past regime, that they have continued, the elites have continued to violate critical provisions of the Nigerian Constitution as amended in 1999. Now, the preamble of this Constitution says that the wealth of this country and the resources should be managed in a manner that guarantees peace, equity to all Nigerians. You have an oil-producing state. the headquarters of these oil companies are in Lagos. This is not fair. The American multinational companies, they have their headquarters in Texas, precisely Houston, and not Washington, D.C. F Petroleum Nigeria Limited, Nantuta, our headquarters used to be in Pau, not Paris. So what is the justification? It is not fair because Section 16 is very, very clear of the Constitution. Say the government, the state, including the National Assembly, shall ensure that the control of resources of this country is done in a manner that will guarantee equal happiness to all Nigerians. Are we equally happy? The question is no.
The Honourable Minister actually wants to respond to some specific issues that you raised. Let the Minister do that before we go to Lagos. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Comrade Odafe, you said, where are the roads?
Yes.
And I'm quite shocked to hear this. This government is working on the Enugu-Port Harcourt road. Enugu-Port Harcourt road is 220 kilometers. Now, imagine how much it takes, how long it takes for you to construct even internal city road of 25 kilometers. And you appreciate what it takes to construct, a 220 kilometer road. The Kano-Maiduguri road is 550 kilometer road. The government is on it. In the southeast alone, we have 3 major roads that connect the entire southeast going on. Now, don't forget that we did not get into the situation where we got to overnight. And as such, we're not going to get it out of it overnight. Now, you talked about recession. You talked about hunger. Yeah, with due respect, yes, things are very tough. But do you understand that we came into a government? We had a government that was earning for almost 6 years $100 on a barrel of crude. And it did 3 things that they ought not to have done. One, they ought to have saved money. They didn't save money for the rainy day. They ought to have invested in infrastructure. They did not. They ought to have paid our debts. They did not. This government came in, and as February 2016, we were selling crude for as low as $28. And yet, despite all this, we did not retrench one single person in the entire civil service. We paid our debts regularly, and we continue to maintain the infrastructure as best as possible. Now, when an economy comes out of recession, it is not the next day that you start feeling the impact. A country comes out of recession, it's like a man who has just left the hospital. He does not start to do the big things immediately. But as soon as you begin to see the multiplier effect of those sectors of the economy that come out of recession, employment of jobs will improve. So also with cost of living come down. But even despite all this, what have we done? Despite all this, today we feed over 3 million pupils 1 meal a day in our schools. And this has led to the creation of an additional 30,000 jobs for our cooks. We give conditional cash transfer to about 30,000 families every month. Our Jeep program has benefited 189,000 people. Those people that take between 10,000 and 100,000 naira loan. We have also improved on our Empower program. We would not get out of this thing overnight. But to say that you do not see anything that is going on. And not to talk about...
Honourable Minister, these roads are being worked on, not as if they are there already, but
you don't
there's a process.
Please, how long does it take you to complete a road? How long does it take you to complete a 200 kilometers of road? Now, but those parts of the road which have been completed, people have seen the difference, and the travel time has decreased. But it will be unreasonable to expect that you are going to construct 500 kilometers of road in 1 year or in 2 years.
Yes, I think there's a process to actually undertake this.
The point the minister is making, I think the minister has made a point, because it was just this government is just 2 years plus, right?
No,
and the country is huge, and of course some of those projects are ongoing. According to what I can understand from what the minister is saying, road construction is not just a tea party.
All right, Kiran,
let's return to Honorable Ololade in Lagos. Honorable Ololade, let's look at what we have described earlier on as mutual suspicion among the ethnic groups in this country. What's it talking about stability in this country? And you see, when that is mutual, in quote, then it means that something is cracking somewhere in the fabrics of the nation's existence, vis-a-vis what we have heard on all the internet platforms in recent years. What's your reaction to this?
Well, when you talk about mutual suspicion, I want to cite an instance as regards what happened in the National Assembly. I think when the issue of, when Senator Remi Tinubu raised the issue of special status for Lagos, it was thrown in the dustbin. But at the time that the Northeast Commission was about to be established, it was immediately passed. So we realized the fact that Northeast needs that kind of commission because of the prolonged security issues they had in that zone. But at the same time, too, you realize that if Lagos generates about 60% of the total VAT shared in the country, then there has to be a kind of status, a special status that should be granted such states. Because if you look at the activities of these VAT-related businesses that bring in so much money, it's telling on the infrastructure of Lagos. And these are some of the things that create mutual suspicion. For instance, if a state or a geopolitical zone comes to the National Assembly for something, and then you see another geopolitical zone come for something similar in that nature and is not being granted, then there will be suspicion. And these are some of the things that are creating suspicion in our political space. And then if we must address some of these things, we need to begin to look at issues critically. There is, Lagos is considered, for instance, let me take Lagos as a case study, is considered as a major gateway to foreign direct investment. There is no amount of money you put into Lagos to develop Lagos that is too much. For instance, Comrade also said that the headquarters of majority of these oil companies and multinationals are in Lagos. And if you increase your investment in Lagos, and these multinationals, the ease of doing business is better, then the country will make more money to be distributed among all the geopolitical zones. And this will douse tension. So I'm of the opinion that, look, if a state generates about 60%, and the activities of generating such resources is telling on the infrastructure of those states, I think that state deserves to have a special status. Now, turning that away in the National Assembly is one of the major things that create this mutual suspicion. And I want to also use this opportunity to, since the Senate leader is there, Senator Lawan, to revisit that issue of special status for Lagos. Because in the U.S., they run two capitals. There's nothing wrong in making Lagos a commercial capital of Nigeria and make Abuja the corporate capital. These are some of the issues that we're looking at. And a lot of people are looking at it. Like the minister said, the restructuring means different things to different people, depending on the geopolitical zone or state where you're coming from. So all these issues must be aggregated and put together so that there can be unity and progress in the nation. And also, there has to be a restructuring of the political actors in this country. If we don't restructure the political actors and the political space, then we will continue to have this mutual suspicion, which means that we need new ideas. We need the younger generation to play more role. Most of the achievement, I mean, when we had 3 refineries, the current president was the Minister for Petroleum. He built about 3 refineries, and at that time, it was about in his late 20s when he was Minister for Petroleum. Most of the Nigerian Airways that General Obasanjo did when he was head of state, he was about 32 when he was doing that. When Paul Enaoro moved the motion for the independence of Nigeria, he was in his late 20s. Awolowo, all of them. Look at all these things. There has to be, and they made so much progress at that younger age because they have energy, they have new ideas, and they can work with their peers easily. I mean, a lot of grievances has been taken from this political elite, the older generation, from 1960 to date. A lot of political bickering, a lot of prolonged betrayals and things like that. So it's still affecting us. They are still treating themselves with mutual suspicion. And so it is only when you restructure the political
Very much, Honorable Lolade. When we are done going through this set of tweets that have come in again, we'll be on the home stretch for the discussion. What's clear vision, really, do we want for Nigeria at 57? And how do we move forward from all this plethora of issues that we have raised this morning? Okay, we have this tweet from Dele Jack Solomon. Fellow Nigerians, let's forget about our differences and live as a united people. With our God-given natural and human resources, Nigeria can be great again.
All right, from Sakiru, at 57, I am satisfied. Rome and America were not built in 57 years. In Nigeria, without disagreement, there will not be an agreement.
Ibrahim Usman has this threat. Most of us clamoring for this restructuring are selfish. Let State Assembly and National Assembly start the process, then we'll see the outcome.
Abdulaziz Abdul Rauf said, I know of an Igbo living in a village up to 6 kilometers from a town in the north, yet living peacefully.
For Bello Sabo, it says, in a constitutional democracy, no tribe can clinch the leadership of its country without winning trust and support of other tribes.
Abdul Ramsani, we can only make progress as a nation when we unite as a single entity.
For Uche Gabriel, says that we have every cause to be thankful to God for the peace we are enjoying today. God bless Nigeria. Long live Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Festus Akimboyewa, the fact that Nigeria is still alive is worth celebrating, even though it hasn't matured as it should be or made any meaningful progress. In fact, all the lofty hopes and expectations of being a prosperous and secure nation are fading, but we shall overcome one day.
And from Magic Wale, that's the Twitter handle, feel the pride of being the part of such a glorious nation. Here is sending my warm patriotic wishes to make this day truly memorable.
Aishara Abubakar says, I have a dream that Nigeria will rule the world. Just give youths a chance in the governance.
From Kolade Bright, we celebrate this great country at 57. Electricity is downtrodden on a daily basis, though. To move Nigerian forward, stop pointing fingers.
Bello Sabo, presidency, resource control and loss of election are the major reasons for agitation. Give these to agitators, they should be quiet period. They should be quiet.
Right. Thank you very much for bringing on your tweets. Let's know from time to time how you feel, really. Thank you very much. Now, distinguished Senator, a constitution amendment, so part of the talk that we should look forward to having this restructuring, and it has to be done through the legal means. Constitution-wise, what is the National Assembly pushing in this direction? How do we begin to have this clear vision of what Nigeria wants, really? Moving on.
Well, the National Assembly has completed the first of the constitutional amendment before we went on our recess.
Excellent.
And by this week, the National Assembly leadership will be handing over to the state houses of assembly our amendments for them to also go and consider. And you know, we will need, for every issue that we voted for, we will need 2/3 of the state house of assembly for such issues to be passed. That is 24 out of the 36 house of assembly. We are always there for citizens to come up with their interests for amendment. Citizens could go through their members of the National Assembly, members of the House of Representatives or senators, or even as individuals. There are so many avenues. And like the president said in his speech, issues of restructuring, for example, are issues that border on constitutional amendment. And I believe that the National Assembly is poised, is ready, is capacitated to do what Nigerians want. When you present a request for an issue to be amended in the Constitution, it doesn't stop there. You have to work for it. You have to lobby members of the National Assembly. You have to explain the essence.
Senator, to what extent is National Assembly serious about this restructuring or the amendment you're talking about? Because when the issue of devolution of power came in, it was thrown out, you know, without recourse to what the public is yearning for. Because, for instance, let me point this to you, that many agitations are coming for so many reasons. For instance, some states there is a inequality in terms of local government areas. Some states in the north has over 40 local government and some has 17. So now what we're saying is that if the National Assembly is serious about amendment, you know, assure Nigerians that that is what we're going to start
If you had listened to me when I said at the beginning, I said it's not enough for you to just send a request for a constitutional amendment. 360 members of the House of Representatives represent different federal constituencies in the country. 109 senators represent the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. I represent interests. The people that I represent will tell me, vote for this, don't vote for that. And when someone clamors for something, maybe because he has the opportunity to say it loud, someone who may not like it, may not have the opportunity to say, I don't like it. So it's not enough because some people or a section of the country is complaining about something that every member of the National Assembly must vote for that thing. If you want that to happen, then you need to take the pain of educating and enlightening everybody. You need to ensure that people don't doubt what the essence of that amendment is. But when someone is not sure of what the amendment will cause, then the next best thing is to stay away from it until you understand it. So I want to urge those who feel strongly about issues that were not passed in the constitutional amendment, including the devolution.
Thank you very much.
That you need to talk more to members of the National Assembly. It doesn't just happen like that. And blackmail or that kind of thing, threatening, doesn't work. In the National Assembly, you lobby people. Even as colleagues, when I have a bill or a motion, I go around to talk to my colleagues, please support me, this is what I mean by this. So I think we can still get what we are talking about, but we need to do a little bit more work.
Progress. Yes. All right. Okay, we'll quickly take our final comment. Now we'll start off with Lagos, Honorable Shonibare. Nigeria needs a clear-cut vision of what it is pursuing, whether through the eye of the youth or even the present leadership. What should that be?
I think Nigeria needs to concentrate more on youth development. If they concentrate more on youth development, I think that will make more progress and faster growth than we have right now. Because if you do not develop a youth, you cannot develop a nation.
Comrade Igbemi, your final comments, please, in brief.
Our position, or my personal position, that the unity and peace of this country is not in doubt at all. So when elites are talking about the peace, unity, and stability of this country being threatened, they are only talking about their own personal interests. And that is the truth of the matter. Then the issue of, the other issue is corruption, patriotism. Until we deal with corruption, whatever we are saying will not make any sense. And I hold the National Assembly particularly responsible for the inability of all the previous governments since 1999 to win this war on corruption. Section 4 is very, very clear. The distinguished senators and his colleagues in the National Assembly ought to make law for peace, order, and good government. Section 88, 89 also gives them the constitutional mandate to expose, investigate, and deal with corruption. It is actually not the duty of the executive, because the executive is supposed to be the ones that will be guilty of corruption, because the National Assembly members or lawmakers are not supposed to spend money.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Digmimi. Okay, Honorable Minister, there is a need for everyone to be these change agents that we want to see.
Right,
I subscribe to.
Yes, I think Mr. President made it clear yesterday that we will not win the war against corruption unless it's, a bottom-up, approach. In other words, all of us should shun corrupt practices. We should neither offer nor accept bribes, which means we must all take ownership of this fight. But just before I leave, it's important to let Nigerians know that in the last 28 months, what this government has done is actually it's actually to complete abandoned projects. So when Comrade talks about Warri Lagos Road or Warri Abuja Road, he must understand that these are contracts that have been awarded by past administration, which this government is resuming, which were abandoned and contractors were not paid. It's also important for Comrade to please appreciate the fact that there are some projects such as the Mambila Plateau, Mambila Plateau hydropower, which have been in the works since 1972, and which various administrations have been unable to even complete. Yeah, and this government finally approved this 3,050 megawatts, hydropower project.
Isn't that what we want to see, Honorable Minister? Government should be continuing.
That is the point I'm making, that if we are the one administration that has ensured that government is continuum. And that is why we did not start out to award new contracts, but rather concentrate on the ones that were awarded. So when people start talking about, infrastructural deficit, they should please give the whole world the entire picture.
Okay, sir. At this point, I would like to thank you immensely for sharing your time with us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria as the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence this morning on the program.
You're welcome.
I'd also like to thank the Senate leader, Senator Ahmed Lawan. Thank you very much, sir. We need to have you on another day for another discussion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. And blessings from Lagos. We have Honorable Shoni Barry Olade, former chairman, Conference of Legislative Leaders. He is calling for youth to take over the mantle of leadership. That's interesting. Thank you for being part of our show this morning, Honorable Olade. And of course, Comrade Emmanuel Odafe Igbemi is the President Vanguard for Transparent Leadership and Democracy in Anti-Corruption and Governance. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
All right, with the discussion done, we'll go to our complimentary segment, first of which is sports.
They've started to collect some points, but Arsenal, for all the criticism...
Super Eagles striker Alexi Iwobi netted his first goal of the season in Arsenal's routine 2-0 win over Brighton and Hove on game week 7 in the Premier League on Sunday afternoon. On 14th minute,